Good morning, this is Norma Cowie, and once more it's Wednesday and it is Norma Talks. Continuing with my tarot information, today we're going to look at all the number ones. Everything has a beginning, even you being conceived is a beginning, and the beginning of your life, and the beginning of the awareness. And when we take a look at put all the ones together, and I have to admit, I had done everything that I usually do. And when I went to go to share screen, everything got all crazy and I couldn't figure my way out of it. So we're going to go old fashioned, hold cards up like this. Now, this is the ones. This is all the four ones of the beginning. Now, before I maybe show this, let's talk about number one in the beginning. Everything does have a beginning, and it has a beginning, can be very fruitful, can bring lots of things, or it can be just the beginning of a rough time. We never really know, but everything that you go to do, especially as an adult, when you begin to utilize your mind in an effective way, this is what this wand symbol says. A new idea. And remember, we talk about the castle in the background, the goal. This is what we have, an idea, it's a goal, what we want to do, how we want to do it. Of course, it shows here it's not always that easy. The river of life's there, hills are there. So how we're going to work that. But it's new. And new ideas don't always come in like what you might say, like I was going to say a bombshell, like boom, there it is. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they kind of work their way up into the mind as to how they look and what they are and what they do. But the truth is everything begins with an idea. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's a plus or a minus, if it's a reaction or flowing, etc. You have had that idea. That idea has been given to you, and then of course it's up to you what to do with it. My favorite symbol is this one, the Ace of Cups. Now I'm just going to try a little experiment here. I have a lamp here on my table, and I want to see if that looks a little bit better. Oh, except I don't look a little bit. That again, I don't see as clearly without that light. Is this side better? No, sorry. A little bit of experiment while we're talking here. Now, why is this my favorite symbol? Or one of my favorite symbols, is because the Dove of Peace puts the sacrament into the cup, which has the symbol of the union between the above and below, down here, and your life overflows. There's lots of symbology in here, and water. So in other words, the idea comes in, and now we have to implement it. This is the emotional, cups are emotion, water, lots of water in here. How we feel about it. Do we embrace it? Because this is what this cup is doing. It's embracing, you might say, the idea. It's embracing the philosophical element of it. So in the embracing of that, it gives the thought power. So here you have the new thought, and now you have emotional power with it. And then the emotional power has things happen. Things really happen more effectively when you have a feeling. Now, I'm not going to talk about positive feelings or non-positive feelings but often that's how it works. We'll have something we have really strong feelings for. It's a strong feeling that is important, whether it's a positive or negative, in the sense of, is it supportive? Is it growth? Or is it not? And so that becomes really important, but it's the beginning, the newness of the emotion. I don't know about you, but I can get very excited about new things. It's like, oh, wow. And I like new things. I like new things happening. And when things get too doldrum, it was like I spent a lot of my life every 6 weeks, on the road. And it's like all of a sudden, oh gosh, I'm getting bored. What's going on? I need a new something coming in. Now, this is a symbol. This is the Ace of Swords. This is, again, another number one, the beginning of the awareness of an issue. The sword is the problem. We can either crown it and deal with it, or we go into confusion and uncertainty, which is, again, emotional, right? When we go into confusion, either these are hilltops or waves, whichever way you want to see that. But either way, it's not easy. It's not smooth. Problems come up. Usually when you have an idea of something new and you're going to do something new, then you have to work out the issues of it, whatever that may be. And you either deal with it and get it taken care of, or you get into emotional stress. One of the things in the symbol, it has 3 yards on either side. And when we look at number 3, a couple of weeks, what you'll see, it'll be they're very, very different. So the different aspects of the 3, which is the creative energy. How we respond to things is very, very, very important. Probably not, I was going to say stressed about, but I didn't mean like stress, but really reinforced. How we handle things, how we deal with things, how we cope with things has a lot often to do with our inner programming, how we are in the subconscious about certain things, what our beliefs and decisions that are buried so deep that very often we can't see them. But life is interesting because life will consistently bring them to us and have us look at them, hopefully effectively. So the beginning of an issue, the beginning of a problem very often means to be able to go inside and figure it out and sort it out. There's always a solution. What I find is we don't always like the solution. We don't always like what's there or what is manifesting or how it is being. So we then come to the Pentacles Ace, which is the new condition coming in. Now, you could say, well, why isn't that in the beginning? But you see, things start with an idea. You have to think it first. You have to embrace it, which is the cup. You have to then work with whatever issues are coming up from it. But here it's manifesting into the world. Ideas are not manifested in the world right away. They have this process that they go through before. Now, sometimes you can make that manifestation very fast. You can have the idea and you get, oh yeah, I want to do that. And then you resolve whatever issue there is. And it's done. And here it is manifesting. It's a beginning of a new path. It's a beginning. So beginnings are very, very important. How you begin, how you work. Now, the lower arcana, which we've just looked at the 4 aces of, deals with a basic everyday life. It's we call conditions. They can be changed quite easily. But the higher, more, we might want to say spiritual, evolution of the sense of the soul, looking at the soul is a whole different story. There are 3 number 1s in here, in a sense, if we bring them down to the lowest number. The first one is very obvious in the sense, yes, this is number 1, the magician. The magician has all his tools, which is the lower arcana, which we've just looked at. The wands, the cups, the swords, the pentacles, they're all on his table here. This is what we work with in our life. He's got a snake with a tail in its mouth around his waist. That means his knowledge is utilized. It's not just flitting around looking pretty or just wasted. It's being worked at. He has here, this is the infinity sign. So there is a spiritual connection. And so what is he doing with these arms and his legs? And this left arm extended up here, he's got a wand. And yet he's pointing down into the ground. Above, we have red roses. And so he's pointing up here and bringing down, he's aspiring for his desires. He's aspiring. Down here, it's red roses if you can't see it. Well, down here, there are red roses and white lilies. That's the aspiring to the desire. Sorry, I've got that a little mixed up. Apologize for that. Here he's aspiring for what he desires, and he's bringing down his desire. As above, so below. It's an old statement. It's been said very often. As above, so below. And that's how we begin. We aspire for things. It's like our aces in the Ace of Wands, where we have an idea, and then we implement energy into it. But this is the beginning of the higher power taking place, where we recognize everything is possible. We have all the tools. When you're learning on any esoteric type of knowledge. You learn, you start, you begin, you aspire to learn, you aspire to know. And as you aspire to learn and know, you begin to build how it works, how to understand, how you work with things in a knowing sense. So this is the magician. The magician is very, very important because nothing really starts without this one energy, this beginning. And when you're wanting to aspire, not just from dealing with your day-to-day life, but to go inside and connect and be aware, that's what you aspire to. You desire to have that. No, I know I did. That's how I lived a large part of my life, wanting to know God, wanting to know how it worked, wanting to figure it out. So I was very much the magician for a large part of my early growth, and I started pretty young. So it was like really wanting to know. So then what's the next one step? That's the Wheel of Fortune. Number 10. 1 and 0 is 1. Change. You know, sometimes we're fortunate. Sometimes we can have an idea, we can step out, and it's there. Very easy. But on the whole, very often we have to work for things. And so what happens, we get on this wheel of life. Now, I just want to point out one thing. In these 4 corners, there's the 4 fixed signs of the astrology. Fire, earth. What do we got here? Fire, earth, air, and water. So why are the fixed signs there? Because they have books. They're learning. This is the learning stage. This is where we make mistakes. This is where we hit our head against the wall thinking, why am I doing this? Well, it's not coming together. It isn't how I want it to be. And the wheel, it's got these 3 little figures on it. We got a snake here, which is actually it's not, when it's got its tail in its mouth, the way I was taught, it's got the energy as control, but this isn't here. This is an old symbol of the underworld coming out into the knowing world. And the Sphinx holding the sword, guarding everything. This is not always an easy symbol. When I'm reading this symbol, I look to see how this is moving. Is it stationary? Is it, they might need to do more energy? Or is it spinning and they need to slow down? The main key for me is always, and I know this is sort of the focal point, is the books. Knowledge, knowing, learning, coming to terms with how all this works. And so it's like the movement element. When you have an idea, you have to do something with it. It has to be projected, or otherwise it's just stuck as an idea. It's not going anywhere. Sometimes we move too fast. Other times we don't move fast enough. And it's to find that, I call it the beat of the process of whatever it is you're creating. Life likes the earth is always creating. So therefore life likes to be creating. We are creating beings. We are creative in many different ways. Thank goodness they're not all the same. We're not all the same, because that is the fun part of exploring relationships, of looking at what the beautiful artwork people do. All those things. That's that movement of life, figuring out where do you belong, where do you go, where do you want. But again, when we talk about the higher arcana, we're talking philosophy. We're talking about learning the deeper, I'm going to say, secrets of life. And then we have a third one. Number 19 is a 1. And it's, again, one of the very beautiful symbols. White horse. And if you know tarot at all, in the death symbol, there's a white horse. The white horse, but this time there's, instead of a skeleton, there's a child carrying the red flag of truth. The fence, which would be the barrier of the past, is behind, and they have in here 4 sunflowers and the sun beaming bright. In other words, you've made a journey and now you're coming forth. You've had all the outside, the defenses, the elements taken away through the journey. But now it is moving into the newness. So what we have here, just the keys I gave them, was all things are possible, action, and then the renewal and the newness, moving, embracing the new. There is so much within the one symbol, and this is where I regret that I share, because you could see how they all kind of fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. But it's by understanding how things begin, how things work. I find that's one of the things that tarot gave me, and luckily has given to many others as well. An understanding of how life works. It's not like we're just doing predictive, we're doing philosophical learning. It was designed as a philosophical learning tool. It was designed for people to come to understand who we are on the inside and how our connection to the higher power worked. It led me in a very different path often than I thought I was. I just started off my whole journey as probably really began it when I was about 12 or 13, trying to figure out what this God thing was that, the minister talked about. And it evolved into coming to appreciate the Mother Earth. It came to involve that this planet is loving and caring, and love works here. And that there are many love works because it's an emotion and a feeling, and it comes from the earth. That's what I discovered. Other people discover different things, and it's not saying they're incorrect. We all discover what we require and need for ourselves. When I started out my journey, I think I was like 20 years old when I really got involved with the tarot. I had no idea where it would lead me. If I go back and look at myself then, I would not perceive the path that I have been led on at all. I would not have perceived on how the steps of my own growth that had to go inside. I had to go inside in order to understand the connections and how people work, and to come to appreciate people. It doesn't matter what their struggle is for them to understand the depths that they have. And it all begins in the beginning. What is your intent? What are you wanting from what you're doing? What's the end result that you perceive, even though the end result may not be what you expect when you begin? There usually is an end result that we want. What do we want to do that? We have many, many steps, excuse me, on our path. Next week, Wednesday, we'll look at number 2. How do we balance things? It's all about balance. It's all about decision. It's all about the awareness of where we're heading. But everything has a beginning. You had a beginning when 2 people came together, and your soul made the third, as we see creativity. There's usually 3 things. Oh, I'm so excited. My voice is going here. Hang on a sec. I just would like whoever listens to this to really recognize and look back at their lives and see when they had the idea and they began to fulfill that idea. And maybe the idea didn't quite work, but it would have propelled you into something else. And that's because of this guy here, this 10. 10 is not an easy energy. It's beginning. But if that wheel starts spinning, you have no idea. And it's like learning how to work at a pace. Now, this is not, number 4 is more about earth stuff, but it's like when I first began to connect into the earth, I began to realize that the beat of the earth was very slow. It's not the beat of the heart. A lot of people think your heart and your, I have not found that. It was a very slow beat, and yet it's a very grounding beat and a very supportive beat. And when because I was a fast moving person, it was like I was busy, I had business, kids, husband, everything, run. And then I just had to learn to slow down and just come in one with the earth, so that the earth was there giving strength, purpose, and knowledge. Believe me, lots of knowledge. But it's slower. And that Wheel of Fortune, we tend to speed up. We tend to speed up. Or on the opposite, we're doing nothing. Life out there wants to support you, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. I've come to the conclusion, just think of it as a divine or love source for me. But it's like when you slow down to nothing that can't work with anything. And if you're going too fast, nothing gets through. So it's really about recognizing this is what I want. I'm ready to embrace the journey of it. I will resolve the issues as they come up, and I will start manifesting it. Now, that can happen in a twink of an eye, all that, but or also can take sometimes several months or even years. But the spiritual content, the esoteric content, is to be aware that there's a bigger force than you. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh no, what's that? But it's there. And if you work with it, if you understand it, things happen, miracles happen. Oh yeah, I've had many doors not work. It's like slap. Where am I going now? But that's because very often I wasn't listening. I was figuring I knew more than the universe knows. But I always found that when I fell down, you might say, or when I was blocked or stopped, the force picked me up and put me into where I needed to be to continue on. And that's called faith. And that's called trust in self and the universe. As I said, whatever name you want to call it. So I want you to think about, what are you thinking right now? What are you planning? What are you working towards? And know that the universe is always behind you to create what you want. But you got to be clear in your thinking. You got to know the end result where you want to go. And then you go step by step to get there, to achieve it. And it is a fun adventure if you understand it and work with it and realize, okay, sometimes I want to go that right. Actually, my hands are going left. I want to go right. But really, perhaps I need to be going left. But you'll be pointed that way if you listen. And that's that higher arcana aspect that comes in. Anyway, that's my talk today. Number 1 is the beginning. Everything begins with a thought. You have feelings that will go behind that thought to give it energy. And then there's issues that come up and you can resolve them. And then you can manifest. You'll see it in practical form. Wish you well. Have a good day. I'll see you again on Sunday. Bye now.